Everybody?
Okay. Call to order. We're recording, you're all aware. Privileged to gather on the traditional territory of the Kwakwaka'wakw. An agenda to adopt.
Motion to,
Motion to adopt.
I'll motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Second.
Okay. I moved. That adoption. Okay.
Call the question.
All those in favor, sorry. Okay. Moving right along. October 11th meeting. Show me two of us were in attendance.
Stephen Phillips? I'll second that. Questions?
All in favor? No. And correspondence. All read every single piece of every single piece. Okay. So we have a Baker Regional Library Board appointment to me.
Looks like it's a motion that Michelle Person be appointed as the rep. I second
Anything sort of discussion on such? Hearing nothing. All question,
that. Is in favor?
all those in favor. Carry.
Do we have to appoint an alternate as well?
Seeing again for an alternate. Alternate.
Could I nominate Leanne?
I'll second it so we can talk about it.
Okay. Question on that?
Okay, was that Rhiannon? That's okay.
What?
It'll give you some good experience. And it's just an appointment for a year.
That's what I read. No, I appreciate it.
So we're all the best.
In favor?
All those in favor? Moving on to the North Island Métis Association request. 5 to 5 for a week this month.
I've actually moved to approve this,
Okay.
of paying it for a week, especially if they're like.
You want the flag if you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll second it for discussion.
Seconder,
For discussion.
discussion. Gotta be open that discussion.
The only, my only thing is we don't technically have a policy on it. I think this actually came up years ago. And there wasn't one. So that's just something for everybody to, there is a federal policy that regulates the flags from a half masting, that we're with, but there was some concern previously that if we did one, then we'd be doing a bunch of them. And my question maybe to the CAO is just if we did go ahead with this one, where would the flag actually be?
So through the chair, I did speak with Charlotte, and I mentioned the places where we could fly a flag at the town office, the harbor, the center, the fire hall. She preferred, she didn't really have a preference, but she said the town hall would be nice, but she preferred
Have we got a flag we can pull down for you? Anyone else ever asked you for the last 4 years to fly a flag for a week?
Through the chairs. The time, no.
We don't have a policy.
And we only have one flagpole, correct?
We've said,
We have, yeah, but one on property
one
here.
at a time.
Yeah, some time ago, there's a decision made because there are frequent requests, whether it's a flag or whether to make it, you know, whatever week, something month, something, whatever, and there's many requests that come across the table. And so, prior council just said, well, doing any of that. Because we would have our staff changing flags all day long, making proclamations, removing some has to be delegated and stay on top of all of that. So that was a decision in the past, doesn't mean that's the decision for the future, but what your resources and all things.
Okay, so we're at the stage of following the question. All in favor? Unanimously find the flag. And the staff will determine if it was beneath the flag here.
It's through the chair, decision has been.
That's what I was wondering, is if we could just, by not removing anyone. Because it's important. We still have like steps. Sorry.
We've already made the decision.
Sorry, no, but, yeah.
Everybody's learning.
Yeah.
Great.
So, yeah, so at this point that the resolution has been made. That step.
Next piece, the from Maui. Should we get one?
I actually would like to motion here, as she, her last paragraph says, we'd like to extend an invitation to meet with you in person. I would motion that we respond to the letter and say, arrange a meeting at some point. Maybe not immediately, as this is a brand new term, and we have a few things to get under the belt that I'd like to see us. So my motion is that we reach out, accept her invitation for a date in the future.
Sure, it'll be up to Sheriff's Steve.
I seconded it. Yeah, sorry,
Thank you.
I did.
I'm sure you will be bad at this. Yeah, as a team. Derek, as a town. The very insightful Stacy research on seagulls. Just read, see the file. Did you receive the file?
Oh, yes, sorry, I second.
By Michelle.
Just under discussion, would it be worth this kind of getting passed on to Chris Wu to see if there's any support we could kind of give for a building, or just if there's anything that we can help them out with that way?
All those in favor? Carried. Next item. Table items. Reports.
I did just want to mention that, the Office of the Fire Commissioner has released, a new training standard. So there used to be this thing called the playbook that came in. Now, it's not called the playbook anymore, it's called the training standards. But I attended a high-level indoctrination into it. So our department is actually fairly up to standard with the training, but there is going to need to be probably some attention paid to the budget when it comes time, because there are new standards for us to maintain an interior TAC team, which us hopefully do. In order for us to maintain that, there is going to be additional training that's going to have to be done. So I'm sure Dean will, our fire chief will bring that forward a bit more, but I did sit in on the 2-hour discussion and things coming.
That training be done on the island.
Some of it can be, and it'll all depend on our crews and what levels they need and new people we get. They've done a really good job so far of trying to band together so that there's synergies. It will be coming.
As a council report.
That was my council.
I attended a health summit in the last, over the last 2 days, yesterday, and then I left at noon because I had a commitment. But it was a meeting of all aspects of healthcare, and it was done in the format of an appreciative inquiry. And so you had table partners, and then you had his peer groups over the last 2 days, and different discussion questions. So there is some information that's come out of that. There's fairly common themes. I will put something into print and share it with you at a future date. I haven't had a chance to yet, but it was worthwhile. And really, what the question is what do we need to do to address the healthcare needs here in the North Island? Not Waddington specific, not North Island, Comox, but now one. So it was a really great.
Had a child last week. Okay. School meeting. Stanford. Know what we read, we discussed based on that.
Bring it for discussion and then Julian's.
I'd like to move this for discussion.
Second that.
I was at, in the old school today, and part of this came forward because we have a seniors group that uses Room 5 here on a regular basis. They didn't during COVID. They're back at it again. They have been for 6 weeks. And it was chronically cold, which wasn't always obvious when it was still 20 degrees outside, but it is quite chilly. However, today, heard that some heating issues have been addressed and the room was warmer. So I guess the question is, without having a plan in place for the old school, and I agree that the report states things are portable and movable. I just wonder what kind of a commitment we really want to put out there right at this moment. So I guess my question would be to our public works is, whatever they've done to make sure room 5 is heated is working. Is it sustainable or is it gonna fall apart next week?
Julian, can you hear us?
Um, very much in and out. I'm not too sure if it's my connection here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Julian, I'll just question. I was in the old school and the heating in room 5, the seniors room, seems to be working just fine. How sustainable is that? How long will it last for? Is it a Band-Aid or can we expect it to last for a while?
Right, Councillor Downey. Yeah, it's basically we're down to the one boiler. The entire system currently runs off 2 hot water heating boilers. So basically in my report, I'm just sort of outlining that the repair costs to that second boiler are quite substantial, and that council may be interested in looking at an alternative option as far as heating the entire building. As far as room 5 goes, it's pretty much status quo with just that one building, with that one room, which is currently running on the fuel oil boiler. So we are down to one boiler. There is no spare or redundancy. So if there is something that happens to the system, that heat will be out in the seniors room right away.
Was the boiler inactive for a time and then just started up again recently?
I'm sorry, you cut out quite badly there, but I think you're asking about the one boiler that's out of commission. Is that correct?
No, the boiler that we are running off at this time, was that out of service for a period of time?
No. Sorry, yeah, no, that was running. We were down to the one boiler at the end of the season, at the end of the heating season, for sure, at the beginning of the year. And it seems to be running just fine.
So that happened quite often. I just know from being down there for 10 years, it's an ongoing, heating was always an ongoing. Just hit and miss, no matter what, climate can actually.
So, sorry, the town received a government climate action program funding that could finance this project, so that's what's in the report there, Julian, and then the recommendation is that we approve the necessary funds. So I guess maybe more a question to Brenda than Julian, but we have money that is applicable for, specifically for this type of replacement.
That's correct. So it's for any kind of climate, ensure.
And this fits because we're going from oil to whatever.
So the funds are there
The
and
funds
the
are-
system is portable, so it could be moved to a new location in the future.
It would be the heat pumps that go in each room, but you'd still run electrical means. Used to be out that portion.
The
Is
report.
this for gas tax?
No, this is separate. This was an initiative that came out.
Seniors. The other day.
Today there were 14. Fluctuates. So there's a steady, consistent 10.
Downfalls. The harbor on those.
Because of the way it's set up. Yeah. They have their little kitchen, they've got their cupboard for the tea and coffee, their goodies, fridge, everything is there. Be like welcome Sunday each for home.
Yeah.
Get that. I've spoken to a few seniors, it's like, whatever.
They like their space to be their space, right? That they're not having other users.
No.
In, is
No,
that,
it's just that everything is there, it's equipped. they know how many tables they have, they know what they've got some supplies on the side, they've got games, they've got different activities that are there, depending what the activity is for the day. And so, you know, if you wanted to play games one afternoon, nobody's, you know, partying in the stack of games to the, whatever the location is that you already know that it's already. It's wonderful. Teacups are there, and, you know, everything, like, I mean, I know you could have this probably that way as well. We have couches there, so there's, the way it's set up, you've got a little seating area where this group can visit, this group sits around a table and visits, this group might sit over here, some people hang in the kitchen and chat, it's very welcoming, and, it's just a great place to visit with one another. Sometimes you wouldn't get the feeling in the harbor office or the old school anywhere else.
Be like another room that they would have that would be there. If we wanted to wait on spending all this money until we figured out what's actually happening. I don't think that we have another space that has kitchen and all that set up.
But that's assuming that the Girl Guides and Boy Scouts, Association.
But honestly, it's quite cool too.
It is very cold. I was gonna say it's very cold because it's right on the.
So we have the same. We could do one.
We can get anywhere on that discussion with Julie.
He needs this, I think he's looking for an answer, a decision.
Can I just clarify, Julian, you're thinking the costs to the current system could be as high as 18, and the new system is gonna be around 10? Or 10 is the cost of the gym unit?
That's correct. Hopefully I put that, I don't have the report in front of
Okay,
me
but
right now, but
okay,
hopefully
still,
that's clear,
bad
the
math.
total.
Looking at about 15?
Nope, 30. So if you look at 3 times, say 2,500,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
I did this the first time too.
Yeah.
And then 10
Layout.
or 11.
It's the layout.
Yeah, it's because it's the portable ones that have to go in each
Yeah.
area. That first sounds like this is a no-brainer.
Is this, and could this be a phased approach, Julian? Could you do, like, say we suddenly had a reason for the gym to be used weekly and the room 5, and there was, say Chris was gonna take over a room for doing museum stuff, so could we do 3 rooms, or is that you're getting the electrical back every time, or how does that work?
Yeah, for sure. It's basically not an all or nothing. It can be a phased approach. Sorry, it wasn't that clear, but in my report. But basically, we could put a unit in each of the rooms, like room 3 and 4 we rent out. Room 5's the seniors. There are another 3 units, I believe, we had calculated that were required for all of the hallway spaces. And then the large unit was for the gym. So they're all standalone units. In fact, tomorrow you could purchase one and put it in the seniors room. They're very much standalone units. So, and again, as I said in the report, we can, if something down the road happens and we no longer have the building in use, we can actually take those units somewhere else, into other town-owned buildings. The price comparison, I would have to work with the CFO on that as far as like the economics go. Right now, obviously, we're burning fuel oil. It's quite expensive in order to heat the building, and it's extremely difficult to separate the zones. So in a nutshell, the zone valves and all of that equipment, which actually separate the heating zones within the building, are obsolete, can't get parts, that kind of thing. So at the moment, we're struggling to heat the entire building with the one boiler, and I cannot separate the units, the zones, the rooms, the hallways, the gym. I cannot do that at present because the system is so old. So I thought I'd put this out there for council to sort of think about some much more efficient way of heating the building. We can choose which rooms we want to heat. For example, today, in the next 3 days, we rented out room 4, and it's the one building, sorry, the one room in the building that has absolutely no heat with this present system. So it's kind of ironic that that happens to be going on at this time. Anyway, the system that I'm proposing is very much, we could basically heat one room with this heat pump system, or we could heat the whole school. Your choice.
Right now, we're heating the building that is at less than 90% occupancy.
Oh, yeah, the building's sitting practically empty. Yep.
Do we know offhand how much we're spending in fuel per month?
Through the chair, we sure do.
Mhm.
It's pretty expensive. I can bring the report back.
Okay.
You'll cry.
You will cry. It's quite expensive with these.
So does it make sense to make a decision on this today, knowing that the money's there in a program, they are completely movable, but it gets the situation dealt with now, saves us money going forward, so that we don't keep burning this fuel on a boiler that is running at half capacity, because there's one boiler running the
2 questions. One, is that building minute further? On the building health assessment done in 2017, that building was not eligible. Any description.
Sure. Yeah, because. Funding, and if these are,
Forgotten.
yeah, maybe these are portable. I mean, if they're portable, they're not fixed to the building itself. Maybe we need to table this and bring this back to the next meeting. I can bring back, a financial report. Along with information.
That would be my preference. I'm comfortable making this much money on a building that we don't.
Could we, when you bring the report back, could the report include what this, climate action funding actually is? If it's capped or 59,000. Oh, we have $59,000.
And that money is already here.
That's here, sitting in there.
Okay, so it's just a matter of making sure that that building is eligible for
The other
that.
question to Julie perhaps would be, what would the time frame of getting an install at least into the seniors be? If we're 6 months out or a year out, or are we looking at this could be done pre-Christmas?
Yeah, again, apologies, Mayor. It's the sound quality is in question here, but I think I got the gist of the question was how soon could we actually convert to the heat pumps? And it's my understanding that it would be within 4 to 6 weeks. I can confirm that for council.
That's positive.
So if we table this until our next meeting, we're already at December, and then 4 to 6 weeks, then without, 3 is going without heat for.
So is room 4? Refresh my memory. Is room 4 the room that was built under the covered area? One that community services just moved their offices out. The numbering system in that building, I'm like. everyone's right.
Through the chair. So 4 is where the painting classes have always been.
Okay,
Heather Brown was in there, some other.
on the other side.
3 is like AA.
Right.
Yeah.
5 second.
So we could,
I was
sorry,
gonna say further to what you're saying. Is that a way to look at this, is if they're portable and it's just, sounds like it's a plug and play, do we get you ordered for the seniors room and the room that we would most use for revenue, so that we can provide a place that has heat? And then staff gets us the report, we can, look at the rest of it, because that'd be like $5,000 out of 59, that still leaves us 52.
And it would heat those two.
And it would get those two rooms heated on,
Yeah,
functional, as they were.
yeah, I can think about it as if you're renting an apartment and you have no heat, you're not gonna wanna pay your rent. Right, so it's unfair for us as the town to provide a place. We either need to give them a different room or do something
Then
just
we-
temporarily.
Then we still need to bring it back to deal with the boiler, because the boiler's on its last legs, so.
Yeah. Yes,
I'd like to make a motion that we purchase 2 of the units and get them installed into the seniors room,
And
5 and 4.
5 and 4. Somebody would
No.
second that?
3 and
3
5. 3 and 5. 3 and 5. 3 and 5.
The 2 top rooms.
3 and 5.
Thank you.
one of the rooms, the boiler is currently working and was substantially warmer.
The boiler's working and heats the whole building.
Yeah.
The whole
currently.
building.
Yeah.
We can't.
Yeah, we can't, okay.
Yes, Brenda.
So through the chair, just from a procedure, so Anne Marie put the motion out there, so somebody must have seconded that.
I will second that.
Thanks. So now you can continue.
That was motion to answer. Yes, so the boiler was currently working, so they do have heat presently.
Yes. And we're gonna, okay,
And we're
2
gonna-
heat pumps. So you seconded and
Any discussion and then initial.
Julian, can the electrical infrastructure handle 2 heat pumps, or are we faced with costly upgrades to the panel?
No, at present, it looks like we have enough capacity in the current infrastructure.
Perfect.
It's not to query, but you know, you can't boil a kettle and have two certain things running that you don't blow a fuse, so.
I have another question. If we're purchasing the 2 heat pumps for those 2 spaces, are we going to shut our boiler down?
Okay,
So now we're paying
Um,
for that fuel still,
But that's what I said, we'll get the 2,
And
get the 2 units, get those 2 taken care of.
okay,
And then we're gonna have to make a decision on the boiler.
Okay, so we would call the question. Who's in favor of the purchase of 2 units? Motion's passed.
You need a motion then to table the rest of this report? How do you want to handle that procedurally?
But you. To. Yeah, natural. Report. Those were the 2 things, because Julie gets rid of it.
So I'll make a motion that staff return to the next meeting with a report on the funding and the current costs at the old school. It's
Painter, on to the harbor. Port. Troy, I presume. He's online.
move to season 5.
second,
Just as the current outgoing or incoming or whatever I am, harbor liaison, I'd just like to say that, the reporting is much improved. There's things in here that, we've asked for in the past, just for everybody else's benefit. We used to get these long charts of how many boats were in there, but you never knew how many boats you could actually have. This conversion to feet, we might be at 110% capacity, but that makes sense because they're rafting them up. At least you know you're at capacity as opposed to you have 28 boats. Well, I don't know. So yeah, just like to say thank you publicly to Troy for working on this, and I think it's a great step forward.
Thank you, Troy. It was also the first harbor report I've ever read that made sense.
So I moved to receive and file.
Nice, I was seconded it. Second.
All in favor, all. Visitor experience report.
Like, move that we receive and file.
Receiving file. Any questions, any discussion?
Just a comment, to say thank you to Chris Wu for organizing and to the staff who also facilitated and helped him and, brought us the Haunted Museum for Halloween. It was very nice. To our fire department, again, for fireworks show. It was fantastic. Lots of positive response on that. So thank you. Yeah. Good Halloween night.
Michelle, were you adding to that?
No, I'm sorry, I was. A question.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you have to- Since you're always moving. Okay, and, question, even file, all in favor. Okay. Development update,
Like to move to receive and file.
seconder, discussion.
I was just curious. In here, she says that CMHC has no interest in funding a senior development. Would we be able to know why?
Chair,
Yes.
I didn't get a clear reason why. I was just told, no, it's too small. Not interested, it's not the right fit at this time. So I said, okay, thank you, and left to the Economic Summit the next day, but we'll be following up with them. At the Economic Development Summit, I mentioned in here, I'm on opportunity and network with Chuck, and that was the first time I met her in person. And she was very keen on helping us through housing, treating the family issues with seniors. Hopefully, it's a slow process though. All the different pieces to this. Seniors, funders, fires, housing. Town has that. So, very interesting. Many walls of marriage kind of. But we're moving forward. Sure.
Thank you.
In this, where 6 weeks ago, CM. The characters from the Quebec Regional District in Powell River. And a phenomenal success accessing money through the Municipal Finance Authority at their great rates. Building a structure called England or Wilton. It's 98 rooms. And they lease it back to their health authority, to Coastal Health. Expected to be paid back fully by the 2035. It's a really innovative way to get it done.
Yeah.
Just for embarrass Coastal Health into and paying the bills.
Well, it'll be 98 units, they'll know. Yeah, that would not be an issue in that town. It's endless inquiries for families, to rent. Quite reluctant to buy. Actually, the depression is thing. But smaller. If anyone finds someone who best, They're on.
Okay. All those in favor? The bylaws?
So,
Rent committee creation?
so, just from a process point of view, can you maybe just give us a quick rundown of what happens when a bylaw comes to council?
So, please, yeah, so through the chair, this is a newly formed committee. So they put together a basically procedure bylaw for. All bylaws have to come to council approved. You can do first, second, and third reading on this bylaw. At one time. For 24 hours, think that I should do that. Things like the zoning bylaw. Have to do first, second reading to get to bring to control. And then we should go to third reading. And with that. So that is, that's
But the scale of this one, we
the
could
scale of this one, we can do first, second, third reading to it. And this is basically for Parks and Rec committee to understand the rules, the mandates. Absolutely.
And do we have to, motion it as first time and then vote on it and then motion the second time, or can we say,
Motion first, second.
we'll motion the first, second, and third reading of the, Parks and Recreation Committee bylaw 722?
I will second.
Is there anything in there that anybody had any concerns about? I think we're kind of getting all our committee bylaws to be very similar.
Yeah.
Is the intent.
Discussion? Favor?
And the chair will bring us back for our next meeting before the final meeting.
New business?
Yeah. The council device policy, the old business, yeah, sorry.
The new business? And the council device policy. Any discussion on bleeding the taxpayer of where she is qualifying it a little bit more?
I'll need this policy for discussion.
Second,
Go on, good.
You don't want to say you're gonna go leading the town.
Yeah.
I have a couple of comments that, just to do with the policy, which, I just felt that a little bit more clarity go in there. I'm just trying to get here. So I didn't like under the, last. Yeah, I didn't like the last line reading that they were going back to the town for disposal. I just wondered if we could just have a bit of cleanup language where it's just returned to the town and then something about recycled, reassigned,
Repurposed.
reallocated,
Yeah.
and something in there that, talks about the programs that are required and who looks after that, because, the previous council spent a lot of time discussing what needed to be done from the point of view of enticing people to come on to council. And, you know, there was consideration for daycare and different things. So if somebody knows ahead of time that they get that bit of money for the device and that the town's looking after the licensing fees for the programs that are required, do your job. I think that there's risk with not having a policy like this from a freedom of information request. And I think this is a good way for the town to protect themselves. So for me personally, I think 1,500 is a reasonable amount. I think that just with a bit of wordsmithing there,
$1,500. Sure you number, or have we derived that from?
We're close to the numbers. I use that not because that is similar to that price, so, if you would actually go purchase something similar.
Not expecting phone. And
I'm gonna say it's a council device. If you change your agendas on a little phone, great on your little phone, and you're comfortable, that would be your device. I don't think that this policy needs to be restricted to a laptop or a service tablet. I think that should be.
and the device will be exclusive for business.
that would be
If
how
there was a void spot, your device could be. So if you put personal in there, well, then that's yours. It does it puts a barrier there between using your personal laptop for business and all of a sudden. Your device.
So through the chairs, one I also went through and all the analysis on council devices and if you have a device separate just for council business, you're not gonna run the risk of having a shared device in your home with your family, husband, children. Who is in competition, maybe unbeknownst to you. Risk as well.
What if we are checking our email on our cell phones and we get like a laptop, but we're checking our emails because this is more carryable. If we get the Freedom of Information Act against us, does that mean it would still, yeah, so that's tricky. No matter what, I'm still gonna use cell phone.
I didn't, for the last 4 years, I do not actually email on cell phone. I have a council device that I tend to every day or every couple of days download the emails and respond from that. And if I was away or I knew something was coming up, I would log into the web browser because with 365 web browser, log in, close it, you're done, you haven't saved anything, you haven't uploaded anything. So that keeps it.
So you didn't feel the pressure of, I got the email, I should respond.
So is there nothing that's going to come in through email that we need to respond to kind of immediately? That's kind of, I think, what Michelle's looking at. Me too, because.
Over our term, the term that I was on, the barge sinking, for instance,
Okay.
that came out via email and there were some questions raised around that because we've seen it on Facebook. And I believe, and this is something we can speak with the CAO about, but if there was an emergency and it's a quick text to go check your email, that would be what you would receive, would be a text, go check your emails, and then so you can access it through a browser.
Sharing it, if that's something council would make if it's like an emergency, and excellent.
That's like a meeting. They're all in the same text.
Group text.
Yeah, there's, yeah, you're right.
I'd like to move that we,
And sorry.
No.
Yeah, can we jump in? This was operating system included with this, like.
So I'd like to make a motion that we forward with this policy. With clean up the language. And, the programming included in.
Seconder for that. Michelle. Question. Favor. From you, Cam, public. Yes. In Cam.
Motion that we go in camera under section 91A.
I second that.
Okay. Move to go in camera. Adjourn, or sorry, we're all in favor of going in
Favor of
camera.
going in camera. Questions? Public.
No question from the public in the media.
You can have any public online? Not tonight.
Questions? Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn, seconded by Michelle. Dog. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming out.
All those in favor?
This is your favor. Will they get a vote?
This morning, they're kind of.
Thank you, John. Now we're good. Yeah, and thank you, Derek. Sir?
Yeah, Laura. You don't want this one, you want this one, right? Sure. Yes.
Careful on that road.
Yeah.
I didn't update it because
My-
nothing's changed.
My wife said.
Rainbow crosswalk down here.